Ladies and gentlemen, the anxiety is building in my heart because this weekend, Dragon's Maze pre-release occurs on Magic the Gathering Online, which means I gotta get my training on because that's the weekend I have to practice. I'm actually going to visit Tristan. We're going to do a little bit of Tristani's judgment upon my card-playing skills. In addition, I would like to warmly welcome you to Day 9 Daily number 583, where we learn to be a better gamer. In today's daily, we're going to be looking at Muslim. Yay! Everyone's favorite British human. All other British people are irrelevant compared to Muslim. I'm suddenly realizing how many people I know and how many people that statement applies to, but I just gotta roll with it. I realize I've just crushed over Total Biscuit, Apollo. I guess I hate them now. I take that. Yeah, Muslim, number one in our hearts. It's a weird start to the show. It's like British people watching just close the stream. What? All right, let's talk about what's actually going to be occurring today. We're going to look at a wonderful, wonderful fast upgrade style of Terran versus Protoss. We are going to look at what the build is, why I think it's so important in the metagame, and I'm actually going to consult the metagame, which is something I believe strongly against in a lot of circumstances. And three, we're going to see implications of this opening. Because, for instance, there are openings with Terran which might lean you more towards Vikings or more towards Ghosts or more towards Marines or more towards Marauders, these types of things. It's not just we have an opening and then we just do whatever that we do in every other game. There are serious late game implications that we're going to see pan out. Next week's Fun Day Monday, please go to www.day9.tv. You'll find the No Gas Fun Day Monday, and you may not build or mine any gas until you have 4 bases. Submit that to Monday at day9.tv. And also, I wanted to just give an extra boost to our good friend Demuslim. If you actually go to day9.tv, Demuslim just provided me with a ton of replays today. So if you go to the main site and go to daily number 583, here's a bunch of link to stuff about him. I would love if you followed him on Twitter, Facebook, and definitely, oh my god, go watch his stream. He has a freaking amazing stream, streams very regularly. Probably one of the number one streamers alive right now. He's great. Tomorrow is Day 9's day off, where I'll be playing BioShock Infinite, wrapping it up in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'm going to play Thomas Was Alone, because I love platformers and I love indie games and I want to play it. So, is there anything else I want to talk about with Terran vs. Protoss? I don't think so. I think that this is going to be a fairly swift daily, so I figure we should hop right on into it. Bam! If you really loved me, if you really love me, So let me give an extremely broad overview to the matchup. In short, Terran wants to try to get a base up, an expansion up. Wants to stay alive until he has Stim and Medivacs, and then it's the Protoss player who's staying defensive and holed up back in his base, trying to stay alive while Terran zips around doing damage with Medivacs, and the primary purpose of that push is to take this third base. Really important to note that. That's the general structure. This is basically it. Terran should be ahead of Protoss in bases. I know there's all-ins like 1/1/1s. I know that you can do things like Marine Medivac Harass and then add on a whole bunch more barracks. But generally speaking, this is the format that we're working with. Yeah, if you really loved me. I have this song stuck in my head, and it's way better than when I sing it. Holy God. So there's a number of ways that Terran will set this up. The simplest one is build a barracks. Take an expansion. Build more barracks with the bunkers up, and then just tech all the way up to the Medivacs. Look at this. I can even consult the tech tree. It's basically barracks, and then just bam, straight into the Medivacs. So you'll see this very frequently. Super passive Terrans. until 10 minutes when the medevacs pop out, or 9 minutes if they're flash. Alternatively, we've been seeing players do things like this framework opening. Opening with a Reaper, then getting the reactor add-on to this barracks as the expand's going up, and then teching towards Widow Mines. It's a little different. We're kind of sprinting down the tech path to get the medevacs with the mines up for harassment. But after that, we still build 2 more barracks and get Marauders and Marines and medevacs and push with the goal of getting up a 3rd command center. Pretty much everything. Now so what we're going to see DeMuslim do is a build that will satisfy that basic framework. So that's good, because if we're not doing the basic framework, we are either geniuses and we are redefining the metagame as we play, or we're fucking up. It's one of those two. And unless you're really, really, really supremely amazing, don't deviate from basic frameworks. And I'm not saying build orders, I'm saying frameworks. Don't deviate from basic frameworks, right? Get a base up, do harass to get a 3rd base up. These are the basics. So yeah, I'll be doing a lot of discussion about that as to exactly what DeMuslim's doing and why it satisfies that framework. But now what I want to do is I want to note the sort of metagame situation that is in existence. Oh, that's so filthy dirty. I don't think it affects DeMuslim at all. Frankly, because he can just wall off with a command center right there. So it doesn't really matter. But this setup allows us for an early Reaper. The way that players will normally play this out has to use the gas. We can't do something like get a Reaper and pull all our guys out of gas and then expand and get the barracks, because essentially we're doing a really weak version of a simple 1 barracks expand. So you've heard me say this before, that about the categorizations, the different types of things Terran can be doing. One would be to get a 2nd barracks, get 1 reactor, 1 tech lab. We start upgrading STEM. Why does that make sense? Because we're using a lot of gas early, and we got our gas early. The other category is really simple. Fast factory play. Those are the 2 good things that Terran can do. And in the metagame, we used to see a lot of the mine play. We're seeing a lot more of the fast reactor tech lab play. Players like Bomb are doing this a lot in GSL. But now what we're going to see is a 3rd thing, which is what makes it so cool. The reason this excites me is that we're going to see the same setup as before. From DeMuslim, he's going to have his reactor, he's going to have his command center. But if you're RSVP, who by the way is a really great American Protoss, if you're RSVP and you scout this, you don't know if it's going to be the fast upgrade style we're looking at today. You don't know if it's going to be fast biomine. You don't know if it's just going to be fast, just regular bio in large numbers. So first, I want to give a lot of credit to DeMuslim for being really smart with this scout. Why is this SCV going out? Because no matter how great a Reaper is, if a Protoss player goes Zealot Stalker and we don't see the first Zealot, we will die almost immediately. I'm actually curious, has that ever happened to anyone in chat? Does it happen to anyone? Because this has certainly happened to me when I was trying to do some of these strategies. I just didn't do this early scout, tried to be sneaky with the Reaper, and then I just died just like that. Yes, good, we have some yeses. Yeah, it feels cool, but Reapers will be popping out not long before the Stalkers come out. So this is cool. DeMuslim getting his scout and his scoot. So cool, he has not only seen and no Zealot, but he also sees no construction out of the gateway. RSVP sort of notices the last second and is like, oh my god, I'm going to try to trick him into thinking I was building a Zealot, when in reality I'm expanding. So, this SCV wound up not being as relevant. It didn't see the Zealot, but it's still very key. Now I'm going to just be zooming back home to see what's going down to Muslim's base. Pretty typical looking stuff. Command center. Reactor. Normally players would be throwing down a 2nd barracks to get that stim now, or they would be throwing down a factory to get that biomine play kicking in. Or I should just say the mine drop play kicking in. But in this particular circumstance, here's where comes the cools builds. Kind of the opinion that we can pull 1 dude out of gas. but I don't really care to go into deep exploration on that. I will present to you the earliest engineering bay of all time. 4 minutes and 45 seconds. I generally reference things in terms of this timer right here. But the more important thing is that none of these are ever halting production. So go Super Demuslim, he's awesome. Still just producing a lot. Still producing our Marines quite a bit. Quite a lot as well. Getting a bunker down pretty early. We're seeing that this Reaper has a lot of utility. It's almost like a hacker Reaper because it just will not die, and it seems to see straight through the hearts and eyes of our enemies. This Reaper is pretty important just for getting a broad sense if there's some early pressure coming, but more importantly, just to see if anything does exit literally. So you heard me talk earlier about implications. Well, okay, if we are going for fast upgrades, we're going to have later barracks. So it's essential that we get earlier bunkers. We can't merely rely on Marines for our defense. We really got to get stuff to bolster them Marines. Look at how early that is. Holy what the asses. Oh my god, are you serious? A 526. Now, upgrades are a little under 3 minutes, so he is going to get this a little before 8:30, which is sick. But is that good, right? The infamous example is in Wings of Liberty in the very early days, even in the beta, people got really excited about fast double engineering bay builds where they would have 1-1 upgrades and no units. Have like 3 mega upgraded Marines. Demuslim, though, has 2 ways that he can exploit this. One is to say, aha, by getting these upgrades early now, I'm going to save money later because I can get an earlier +1 armor, and then I'll have 1-1 Marines. So I'm not exactly going for the 8:30 timing. I'm going for like the 11-minute timing where I have both upgrades. That is true, but we're going to see that there is one of these 8:30 timings, and it relies quite a bit on the fact that we have oh so much gas. So first of all, Demuslim not missing a beat building Marines. This up on the high ground, really important, because otherwise he could attack us. We didn't have the bunker built yet. This is another defensive move because we have obviously the very defensive play here. Hacker Reaper finds himself yet a 3rd kill. But I don't care that much about this Reaper. The point of this introductory game is just to see the basics of the build. So, sort of intuitive stuff. We're going to get a tech lab. When we can afford it, we're going to get a factory. When we start the factory, we get a refinery. You're starting to see more and more why now I'm like, maybe we could have 2 in gas, but I'm not going to sweat it too much. I'm just going to stop sweating. I'm going to try my absolute hardest not to sweat anymore. So here is a cool and oh so cruel timing. Normally, if we are a Terran buddy, we like to be getting stim and combat shield before we do anything notable. However, here's the cool combo we're going to do. If we have the plus attack, we're going to be able to do a lot of damage. If we have stim, we're going to be able to do a lot of damage and maybe run away. And with these very fast medevacs, I want you to see how early this factory is. This factory actually started close to the 6-minute mark. With early medevacs, we are definitely going to be able to run in and out and dart. So what are some of the implications of this very, very fast +1 attack? Well, gee golly gosh willikers, we can actually go for a mega fast stim timing. Stim timing without combat shield is actually the important one. Stim timing without combat shield. So this is where Demuslim really does begin needing gas. So a 3rd refinery will do. Kind of a technical split of workers. We're noticing that he's only going to have like 4 or 5 workers here after he throws into gas. The usual 16 in the main. So we will not actually quite hit an 8-minute attack. But we are going to get something a little teensy bit earlier thanks to these medevacs coming up so swiftly. So, the Muslim is getting a little value by going for this more like 11-ish minute timing. So here are some of the fastest medevacs ever. Look at this money. Look at this distribution of money. Oh, I love that so much. Perfectly low. Right before the Muslim moves out, he's just going to take down these rocks to set himself up for a third. He's not violating any of the basic frameworkages of this game. And I actually will leave this here for a moment. I'm going to show that the Muslim will have enough money to build this command center, but look at production. 9:15 is where we'll rewind to. Look at this production. Doesn't forget the 2 SCVs at a time. Still building 3 Marines at a time. Here, I think, is a... we could have built it a little bit earlier, but we're still not going to really miss any of our macro timings. Come on, the Muslim. Come on. He actually does have the money for that. Ooh, boo-hoo. But I think that's so key, because it's very easy to be like, all right, I'm going to expand now, and then to like halt all worker production and just blast out with the Expo. Now, one detriment that this build has, because any build that's good will have something, or any build that's good in one way is going to be weak in another way. The way in which this is good is this kind of cool +1 timing, but then there is a 1-1 timing. So we're going to hit him at 9, and we can hit him again at 11. The downside is that we're low on barracks. Normally we have 3 barracks with add-on. Here we have 2 barracks with add-on. So not only can we do this early harass pressure, but we actually kind of must do this early harassment pressure. Now let's go on over to Toss, who's being a canonical Toss bully. Most Protosses are like, dude, I have photon overcharge. Relax, it's okay. Much like a 16-year-old about to engage in a street race when he's had his license for 3 weeks. Relax, Mom. I'm wearing a seatbelt. I'm invincible. You're not invincible with photon overcharge. Watch the Muslim exploit his front. He is going to want to shunt himself into a corner. We don't have combat shield. But at the same time, if there was a large gateway army, we can always retreat. We have our 2 extra speedy medevacs, thanks to Heart of the Swarm, to be able to run away. If he is going for this thin defense, oh, I have photon overcharge. Don't worry, it's like totally not a thing. Watch what the Muslim does. He just goes for it, man. The +1 allows him to kill things quite a bit more quickly, including this base. Being like hyper aggressive to the extreme, and then can always pull right on out. Now, if this attack doesn't go so great, that's no big deal, because look at how close we are to 1-1. We will have 1-1 done by the time he can perform some sort of counter swing. There's a lot of Protoss plays that are like Speed Zealot Archon timings that happen at 12 to 13. We're more than safe in those circumstances. So this is quite cool. Meanwhile, back in the base, there's a general halting on the medevac production. 3 or 4 is about when you honestly need to stop, because you have to begin getting money up to go for a bunch of barracks. It's very, I think Terran, it is the easiest race to autopilot build stuff. Where you're just like, I have starport, therefore I shall hit D button, because macro. Do want those barracks up. Another very critical implication is the fact that we are going to be downing a lot of gas early on, because we're getting this upgrade 1-1, and it would be stupid for us to get 1-1 and stop. So we're going to be following it up with 2-2 very shortly. This means we are getting cut a little bit low on gas for Vikings, and we're especially being cut a little bit low on gas for Ghosts. So we can't really go for the... What's a good way to describe that? I almost want to call it the Terran Death Ball. Because the Terran Death Ball is like this Marine Viking ghost with some Marauders and a bunch of medevacs. Where you choo-choo-choo-choo, and you like EMP all that stuff, and you get the Vikings up to shoot down the Colossus. Yeah! But we're eating into all the gas. So, what we would... if we did do something like go Marine Viking upgrade, we can't really be that aggressive. It's very easy to just get some force fields in the Colossus to kill all our stuff because we're still not going to have quite as big a ground army. We're eating into this sort of thing. So given the fact that we're burning all this gas on this upgrade, and because, well, in particular, we can't get ghosts, we're not sure if our opponent is going to be able to go, or is going Zealot Archon, or is going Colossus. So ordinarily, you will see two reactors. You'll see a good amount of Marines and Marauders in the mix. Muslim's just going to go mass flood with the Marauders. Like, he is just going to blast off with mass Marauderage. And actually, this is a good time to take a break. So when we come back, we'll see Muslim blast off with mass Marauderage. And we'll see how his economy is functioning. And we'll sort of see why that's a tough spot for him to be in gas-wise. We just don't really quite have the gas for it. So when we come back, the rest of this game, and then a longer game. I have a daily prepared. And we're on a break.